I can bike between two parks, paths between facilities, that kind of thing. Compliance, Parks and Wildlife goals, Parks and Wildlife have their strategic plan that goes on, and they want to make sure that whatever we're trying to do is compatible with what they're trying to do. Compliance, that only applies really if you have a current project with them that's being funded. They want to make sure that you're finished with it. So this won't apply to you. And then if your application is complete, if you hire Judy, it will be, you'll get that. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Go ahead, next slide. I kind of sifted through all the criteria. And with what we wanted to do in phase one and the rest of the community park in mind, really there were three main strategies that we want to present to you guys and try to get you to understand as we move forward. The cooperation between entities, both public and private, is going to be absolutely huge. This is where we're going to have to score the most points that we can. And the public entities that I'm referring to is obviously the city of Floresville, and Parks and Wildlife considers 4A and 4B part of the city. Floresville ISD may have some interest. Phelps Electric Company may have some interest, as with Wilson County and the San Antonio River Authority. Can you guys think of any other public entities in this area that may have any interest in the community park? I could, but if you have, let me know, I'll add them to the list.
Maybe the hospital for health and wellness?
Hey, I didn't think of that. That's good.
The hospital?
It's a hospital district? Oh, absolutely.
Hospital.
Absolutely, okay. And that's not a city entity?
No.
It's on
Oh, good. And then on the private side, we have the Parks Foundation, which Judy told you could be very important here in the future. And then you've got Little League, soccer, football, softball, all the youth and adult associations that would be future users. And then private donations, corporate donations, foundations, any kind of fundraising, bake sales, whatever it takes to bring money to the park so we can match it for the grant is going to be important. Next slide. And of course, along with that cooperation is contribution. And that's either in dollars, equipment, labor, materials, land, maintenance, all those things count. All of those things count. So if you got a mower that you want to donate, you can use it. Okay? Next slide. And then the last fundamental strategy here is, we've got to pick a project that tries to, helps us maximize those points. So whatever that project is, it's got to be, the contents of that project has to be identified as some of the top priorities in our master plan. We want to make that project as diverse as possible. Try to maximize the number of different types of facilities in it. We want to try to find significantly new and different facilities. I think one of the best examples I could think of was the splash pad. You do not have one. They're very popular, and that'd be great for scoring in that category. And then linkage to existing parks. You have an existing park, River Park down below. We can provide roads, we can provide paths, hike and bike, whatever, to link those two parks. And then linkage to natural bodies of water. Again, San Antonio River is the closest. And we can have paths and what have you going down to that. Judy, are there any questions for Judy when it comes to the grant?
And we link,
Just from a cursory look, do we even have a chance to get a grant?
You have a chance to get a grant. There are some things that I would like to flesh out with the city to try to get those points up as high as possible. But, yeah, I do think you have an opportunity to, yes. Depends on,
50-50?
I'd say it's probably somewhere closer to 60-40, yes.
What's your maximum number of points in the 22 that got grants last year? What was the lowest that made it?
The highest was 87.
Yeah,
That's roughly half of the points that are available. So you don't have to earn all of them.
no, you don't. They funded almost, if you had applied last year, I would have told you it would almost have been 100%. They funded almost everything last year.
That's because of the amount of money.
Correct, the amount of monies that were available. They also put it out the door really fast. They found out from the legislature that they were gonna be able to fund, and I mean, they put it out, and people just only had a very short time to get in it.
Yes, Vampire Joe.
So
Well, it's
basically,
been a while.
so with what you're saying though, like if you don't take advantage of it by August 1st, your percentages go down in the years to come. It's gonna be harder and harder to get it.
I think that there probably will still be about $4.2 million every year.
But it's gonna get more
But
difficult.
people will become more and more competitive as years go on, as the monies are back and available as they have been.
What do you cost?
What do I cost?
Yeah.
I'm not real expensive. I usually charge $3,500 to do an application. Yeah, that's all. And we've been doing it for a long time. I've been doing grant writing. My father started the business in '83 from being a city manager and a COG director. I joined him in '91. That tells my age, doesn't it? 25, been writing and administering grants for 25 years, and Parks and Wildlife, most all of those, that period of time.
What's your track record?
People always ask that. Once I sign on and say this is going to be a doable thing, depending on whether we can get some of the different dollars from places, our track record is quite good. I don't usually do percentages, but it's good because these are like, you're talking about babies out on the ball field. These are kind of like my babies. I don't like to do a park application that doesn't have a likelihood of being funded because it doesn't make you feel good, it doesn't make me feel good. Yes, we do need to keep the doors open by making money, but at the same time, there's a part of it, particularly with parks, that is it's a passion. So I want you guys to be funded as much as you guys want to be funded when we start working on a project.
Jay's a sportsman, the next thing he's gonna ask if you ever won state.
You can call Parks and Wildlife Grants Department. I think that you would get a good report about how we do business. So that's kind of like winning state in the grants.
That's what I'm
grants
thinking.
development. Yeah.
Thank you, Judy. Well, that concludes our presentation. Thank you very much for the time and the interest. It's great to have a lot of questions. It shows that you're interested and you care. So thank you very much for your time.
One quick question. On the actual plan, like the plan is approved, if you, of course, phase one, once you go into bidding and you go into construction, that's understandable. But let's say later on you say, well, you know what, we don't need, 6 of these soccer fields, or we want to put 2 extra, practice fields for baseball. Is there a charge or anything for changing the plan once it's in place?
There's always a change order. Hey, Rev, she loves some change orders.
Now with the timing.
If I could, because my initial, I got 4 bills, I need 4. So I want to ask a hard question. I don't know what, so to answer so much, because I don't know where the money will come from. But if I did have to have 4 bills, how much more do you need?
Well, I don't know how we use this, but the last bid we got for the retention ponds, I mean, the bidding, we are, like you said, Mr. Robles said, we're already down to the oil field. We had 19 people bid the last one, so I mean, there's a possibility if you put it out there and the bidding comes back, there's extra money there, so when you throw it out there and you see the bid comes back at a potential lower price, and you could add more onto this, Tom?
I just want those 7 clauses. I'm a really good girl. I get my bag on really, really good. If I come up with another $1 million, do I get?
Have you asked before, is this the Cadillac price or the
Do I get 4 bills?
basic price? Yeah. Just, I want to clarify that we're not building Cadillac, this is the basic.
So, Tom, is the assumption, the question has to do with reporting, both in terms of performance as well as in terms of expenditures. There will be some expectation on my part that the FEDC, or at least me as one member, would like to have some progress report periodically, both in terms of expenditures and performance. Has anyone given thought to that? Is that premature?
We haven't had a lot of discussion about that, but common sense would say that you would have an agreement with the city of Floresville on how your money is being spent. And if you want a monthly progress report, then you specify that in the agreement. I think that's entirely within your rights to ask for. You can have any level of oversight or reporting that you think is appropriate.
Okay.
That price includes, lights on the fields, Tom?
Lines?
Lights?
Oh, lights? No.
I don't have 4 fields, if I have another $1 million, do I get 4 fields?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, I have 4 fields, no lights, for $2.4 million.
No, just this one, we'll throw in the mix.
4 fields, no lights, 2.4. Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, you gotta add in infrastructure.
Yeah,
Infrastructure.
no, I'm talking park, I'm talking park. Infrastructure. I'm talking about this park. 4 baseball fields, no lights. 4 baseball fields, $2.4 million, do I get 4 fields? That's what I need to know, because I got 4 out there now.
2.6, about 2.6, because the water line comes from offsite extension,
So 2.6 will give me 4 fields, a little soccer.
plus
baseball,
everything else
football
that's in
field,
yellow
and
there.
a little playground, and okay, no parking lot, but that's what 2.6 will get.
Which in baseball terms, that, park is way out of that playground? Yeah, I mean, if you, especially when your first phase includes the 2 baseball fields, so we're gonna have a park that's
Can't we just approve the lights part?
X amount of
Can't
fields.
we just approve the lights part?
The playground was put there to kind of complement the patio at the end of that section. If you don't like it there, you can put it anywhere you want.
And that's what I'm talking about, actual changes. I mean, if we have the park here, you know, these fields here, I mean, shouldn't we iron those out now?
Yeah.
You know, before we start, you know, moving forward.
Yeah, I would amend it as you go. Who
Yeah, but like you said, it's just a little bit. You know, why entertain the little bit? Why entertain the change order and just put it down where you want it?
Well, when
I know,
you're-
right now you're on the
when
front of the
you-
house, I'm gonna put it there in the initial plans, not do it when they start pouring the slab.
When you identify a phase of work that you want to do, and you go into more detailed design, and you figure out what you really want, then it's just a little bit of effort to go in and amend that.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying, so we have time.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, this isn't set, we didn't vote on it.
No, I'm just saying, but if you vote, you propose this plan, I mean, later on, you can say, I want these fields over here, that,
Absolutely.
I have a question I'd like to ask Henrietta. And the council. We build all this, then we come back and we need to figure out in advance who is going to do where are we gonna get the scheduling, the supervision of the facilities, because you're gonna have multiple entities wanting to use these fields. And that's gonna take somebody that's a mastermind with scheduling and things like that. Also, what type of fee are these leagues gonna pay to use these fields? Is that gonna be a revenue income from the use of these fields?
These, Mr. Grayson, these aren't designed, I don't think, league level, I think we should have something league level, but they're not.
Well, actually, we've given some thought to that, okay?
Okay.
I inherited these parks, as you all know, and so one of the crazy things are all the time, who can sell the fields and when, and who shot down, and were the agreements and not agreements, and so the attorney has come up with like just a format, and it answers all those questions. Because I don't know when they pay the league, but I wanna say during these times, I need to reserve the fields for them, they need to tell me what that is. And then there's a user fee, for lack of a better term, you know, because we're reserving just for them, they're using it, they need to have a fee. I've been in conversations with the youth, with the baseball people, they want to go put some fencing, not that we don't need the fencing that need to be done, but they want to do $15,000 with the fencing. I'm like, don't put $15,000 in those fields, because it's not, don't do it. Because I may have to settle down and we just spend $15,000. So rather than that, you know, either to agree, and this is just a rough draft agreement that the council hasn't seen, that our meeting's over with, but just for them to say that we're thinking about that, to say it's a user fee, 250 kids, I think they told me at one time are playing. And this wouldn't just be for baseball, this be for football, for soccer, for anybody who uses our field, at least have those opening games and it's reserved just for them. This is the kind of agreement that we have. We shared it with them earlier in the year, but we're waiting for this plan to come together. So we're hoping that that two-part question about how to use it and to be able to schedule it, this will take care of it. The other part is if we get the YMCA, this is something that they definitely want to play with. To be able to coordinate that, to be able to help maintain the fields, that's what they do, not replace them, because they don't want it if it's existing, but to work with them to be able to coordinate, to have a coordinator. The YMCA said they'd be willing to work with that.
I guess I'm looking at revenue stream too, to help with the maintenance and things like that.
Well, the idea would be if, let's say,
Concessions, for instance.
Okay, see, concessions is a little different, because see, concession means, I used to have a kid on the band booster, and we used to come to the football team, and so it was band booster time, so whatever I made revenue, them nachos was band money. And then you have, football money, so I'm not asking to take over the concession, because I can make the money at the nachos, but that's really a big fundraiser for them. So we want to provide the concession stand and whatever band booster, whatever, to have the concession stand, but if we rip those fields for whatever reason, to someone other entity than them, then that needs to be earmarked to go back into those fields. If they're paying a user fee of $10, and I'm just picking that fee, so nobody go back in newspapers, say I said $10,000, $10 per kid, per head, that money will be earmarked to put back into the maintenance. Because again, I said it takes money, and this is a new idea, so we definitely want to be able to earmark future fees that are associated with that to put back into the park to maintain it. I want to say this. I want to say I have to commend you all, because usually, and where I come from, nobody wants to spend any money on parks and spend money on kids, but just want to let you know that at no point in time, whatever you do for the kids, will it be a money maker. It will not. It will not pay for themselves. He can tell you when everybody, if he equipped all those kids and paid what it cost those kids what it cost, nobody would be able to play football or basketball or baseball, because you can't afford it. So what you have to decide is how much are we going to invest in the kids? How much are we willing to invest in the kids, because there's no way Billy out there is going to be able to pay enough for his little portion of $2.4 million baseball field over the next 35 years. The math is not going to work out. So we need to say how much we're willing to invest to give them something to play on so that it can last 35 years. And hopefully an agreement so it can basically go on and have its own life, whether I'm here or not, whether the councilman is here or not. This is the agreement that everybody can come and we can record. We're going to record this bad fellow, so that we can all say everybody's on the same page. So it is a cost. So we need to
I know it's a cost.
we need
So
to
it's
be inventive,
inventive.
however we can do it. But the kids, it's not going to be a pass-on that we can put on to do so, but the concession stand will not be a moneymaker for the city.
But I want to say something as the new guy going back to town that grew up here, because I wasn't a part of the event center, and I'm not using that at any basis moving forward for kids and the safety of kids. So if the elephant in the room is talking about how the event center was done before our kids' time, we cannot punish our kids moving forward for that, whether it's mistake, good, bad.
No, that's not.
So we can't keep bringing up the event center for this. This is something totally different. So
I wasn't bringing up
I
the
know,
event center.
but we said the event center, I'm just saying we
Well,
cannot.
you said I did, but I wasn't. My question is, I'm looking for offsetting maintenance costs.
But we're not building this to offset the event center.
I didn't, that was not the idea. I never said that. I said.
Well, I just want to clarify, that's why.
Right, I said, I'm looking for ways that if we're gonna have tournaments, if we're gonna have things like that, which I think I'd like to see happen. I'd like to see where, that some of this, if there is a revenue flow, that it goes to pay for some of the maintenance costs and things like that. Not just necessarily right back into the general fund, unless it's budgeted for back into that item.
What will it feel least for on a weekend for a tournament, if you're tournament legal, as far as your structure? Anybody know? I know.
The rent of baseball field,
They won't let us.
No, not the school.
No, I'm just saying the fee.
No, but people that put on baseball tournaments. If you're
By team,
tournament
and
legal.
normally by team.
Well, I can tell you from what I understand, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, the select guys, how much they take it from $395, $350 a kid, a team to go play? So Pleasant pulls a tournament with 40 teams at $350 on average
12,000.
on a Saturday and Sunday tournament. And how many, I don't know, how many teams do we send over there normally? I think there's about 5 to 6 local teams that pay that to go to a tournament in Pleasanton, a couple, maybe 1 or 2 times a month. At least once a month, I know during baseball tournament play time.
And Ray, I think you mentioned it also, that bringing people in, you have the 2-day tournaments, teams from Houston, Austin area, to stay at the local
Well, you
hotels.
kind of work with your heads to beds deal, it kind of adds a lot of juice to the overall economic development, if you will.
Exactly.
And I think that's a revenue source that we need to dig into.
Yeah, because that's where the funding's gonna be for the events or anything. Anytime we spend hotel motel tax, or they put gas, or they buy milk, or they buy Gatorade.
Now you're getting what I was talking about.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, so I think that all can be implemented in here. I know, I saw the Wildcat football board, and we got 125 kids, and there's 5 home games a year, they bring in, 4 games on a Saturday. So all those people that come in,
Well, that was my point,
Yeah.
was that, do we have a potential to bring those teams?
I think you look for the outside, like you said, you let the concession stand be the kids' money, their number one source, and then we look at the outside, the bigger picture. If we bring in people to this, when they're stopping at Valero or Exxon on 97, that's where we're gonna bring our money.
But the fees that we would receive would go back to the maintenance.
Yes.
That's the whole point I was trying to ask.
Whenever they did the tournament, how much did they give back to the Little League? You haven't,
I do not know
you don't know that?
And Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, but the plan that was given had no tournament fields. These are just
Basic.
Chevrolet fields, that's it. So there's got to be, if there's an upgrade, there's going to be an upgrading cost.
I think initially, though, we have to build the mentality, we're doing this to satisfy a need for our kids, not necessarily to make money.
That's what you guys.
Because what you're giving us right now doesn't go to that extent. Now, maybe in the future we can get there, but that shouldn't in any way deter us from doing what we need to do for the reasons we're doing. And that is to fix the needs of our kids, to give them a safe playing field, so to speak.
But what's the difference then makes up the length?
Well, I know we may get there, but what he's telling us, that they're not,
I think it's a solid.
I'd like to know that too.
I'm gonna let Gary.
Mighting, your concessions, the irrigation bleachers, the covers, shut stand, shading, dugout shading, all of those things.
Well, you can bring that to baseball.
Yeah, but if you have so many tournament dimensions, it doesn't mean you have to have,
You can build a field,
Right, yeah.
bring bleachers in
If
later,
you
you
play on it,
can
if
bring
it's
other
a
things in later.
regulation field, then it's regulation field.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's my point, is if we build the field.
So there's not any seating on any of these fields?
No, there's seating,
Yeah, there's no cover yet.
To Henrietta's point about 4 fields, what would a single field cost that just has the field? No lights, no seating, so that mom can bring the chair out, so that just got the fences, the backstop, and the playing field.
The small fields turnkey, everything included, design contingencies, construction, probably about 450,000. Larger field was probably about 575.
Where are we getting these numbers from? Where are these numbers coming from?
That's coming from Brent, like our sub-consultant doing the landscape design, that's his historical cost amounts on.
That's without lights.
It seems like an awful lot, 50,000.
The original we're about is the number kind of 250. But I don't know.
Yes. Well, that includes your construction costs, all of your facilities, all your contracting expenses, right-of-way preparation, insurance bond, mobilization, engineering, design fees, all costs included.
and contingencies.
Contingencies as well.
Yes.
I think that, when you put that bid out there, I think it come out so you know it.
think so too.
Absolutely. I think I would want to come to you in the future and say, we're high, we can do more for less, later on. We're giving you program cost estimates.
I know, but
There's
how do you shorten that gap if the people sitting here think that a baseball field's gonna cost $250, right? And then you're giving us projections on a phase that your fields are costing $450, so then that's, you know, that on 2 fields, actually give you another field. I mean, there's gotta be some way you can shore up costs, you know, either by, you know, other fields that have recently been done, or, I mean, pick up the telephone and, you know.
There's plenty of room for what we would call value engineering. In fact, on the way over here, I thought of 2 or 3 different things that we could do to reduce that cost. We just haven't got that far into design to be able to say. For example, you know, the baseball fields right now are out west of the event center. We could rearrange community park and bring those in closer to the event center and just save on utility costs.
Well, let's do whatever we can.
Well, I'm just saying, that's the kind of exercise that we just haven't had time to go through. And we really haven't had a decent detailed discussion with you about what do you consider a basic field? It's what we consider. You know, you may have a different idea. You may have a different idea what you call a tournament field. Well, we don't know what that is. We know what we think it is. So, again, there's room for lots of discussion.
I think that's the main thing we were talking about earlier while we're here, before we move on that, we need to know the land and everything like that.
So what's wrong with the field over there? Got this field on with lights. What's wrong with it?
I mean, there's lights that are nice, steel, modern poles, and then there are, you know, wood poles that have got wires and don't look very good. I mean, well, what do you want? What do you consider to be basic? I mean, all those discussions have to be played out. We just haven't had them. So we would rather give you a cost that comes down later over time than goes up. And we have, what's the contingency in there? 20? 10. Okay.
Where do we go with the issue of the land, and ownership of the land, and either rental or how that's gonna work, or can you get it released, or?
Is there a limit?
I think the biggest thing is that we would, and I don't know, Tom, you and two may need to discuss how the arrangement on the land could go. I'm under the assumption we can't sell it until we pay for it, basically. So it'd have to be some type of a lease thing, but that's something I think we're gonna have to ask our legal team to come up with.
Mr. Gleason, and I'll get with Tom on that, because when we did the refunding, I think they're only secured by ad valorem taxes of the city now, and we talked with the bond council about that. So there may not be any security in the land itself securing the loan.
I don't think there is, Chris.
Yeah.
I think we are free to enter into some type of arrangement and sell if they were.
So, but that's something we can discuss.
Can y'all also include Chris in that conversation, please?
Sure.
Anybody have any more questions about the land? We'll let the attorney scratch that out.
Yeah, so at this point, Tom, we should make a decision on what, or the FEDC should make a decision on what is the recommendation of where we at?
Well, I think the first step to be completed here is actual adoption by the city council and the FEDC of the master plan itself. It's for all practical purposes complete. I think that's more of a formality at this point. And then, you know, the second step is, you know, if you want to initiate phase 1, you know, then we need to do some engineering. But we also need to have a lot more discussions about, you know, standards and specifications and levels. So that those kind of go hand in hand.
So then today, adopting the concept, if you come back at a later time with a more detailed design, as far as like you said, if the field's gonna be reversed, you know, baseball field slopes in the center, then at that point, before you get to phase one. So today, you're just adopting the concept?
And Tom, I think, at least I make the determination that you all, this is the part of the master plan that we paid you for. And unless we have any major changes that I haven't heard, it's good to go. Now we get into the implementation plan, and then that's how do we implement this phase one by land, by trade, or whatever we do, and meet the standards that that the city council, public wants to see in these fields.
I've covered a lot of highlights.
And that's part of implementation.
Right, I've covered a lot of highlights of the implementation plan tonight, but we're by no means finished.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, we need to hear from 4A that they actually want to move along with this because this is their land.
Sure.
You know, secondly, I think our attorney had some comments also.
Well, no, I just think that, I mean, legally, we need to figure out the best way to facilitate the project if the 4A is willing to, between the three entities, you know.
I was just telling the entire, I'll tell the room, we're gonna discuss it, but my research on it that I haven't gotten with Clarissa or Chris on is what you guys are proposing is legally doable. There's nothing preventing the 4A and the 4B from entering into some type of arrangement or using the city as the middle entity involved. We just have to discuss the fine particulars of what they heard tonight.
But there's gotta be some sort of agreement between the parties.
We have a tri-party interlocal by the time it's law.
Right.
How soon can that be put together?
Yeah. I mean,
At least 30 days.
depending on everybody's schedule, but I can get a draft.
We just gotta try to do something August 1st, if not, we miss.
Oh, no, yeah, I think definitely work
I
together,
think
but
we
this
can
is
work
just the first time.
quickly, but I think we need to get a consensus from the board how they want to do it, and what would be best for us to do.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're sitting on a hold, we have not voted on it, but my understanding from the board is, you know, we're willing to fund some type of project, but we gotta hear back from you that y'all are gonna agree with some kind of use of the land, that we can't vote to use your land if you don't.
This is the
Allow it.
first time, understand, this is the first time we've heard this presentation. And I
I need to give some Tom some direction, otherwise.
We could wait months.
Well, I agree, but I'm just saying.
We don't
Now
plan,
we have to look for-
we don't plan
Oh.
months, we're planning days and weeks.
Next week, we have a meeting next week. Our monthly is next Thursday.
I mean, if y'all vote right now, we'll vote right behind you.
Well, we don't have an action item, so we can't vote tonight,
No.
but we will meet next week and we will come up.
Because not with them, gonna be.
You're not buying the land tonight, all you're giving Tom is some direction of about the concept, you're not buying the land right now.
Right.
So if we move forward on the concept, without.
All you're-
You can just give direction to the attorneys to work together.
Are there any concepts in the implementation plan that are presented tonight that are disagreeable?
So we could.
None with the concept.
I think what we need to understand, and I'm hearing you and I'm hearing some of the folks over here saying the same thing, that the plan, as you put it, and you've worked on it for at least many months and done a good job with it, is already actionable. We can approve it at this point. It has no effect one way or the other, of course, what happens next. So that we could very easily, and we've got an action item on our agenda here, we could very easily approve the concept, the plan.
Right, because we're on it's on the agenda this Thursday.
But it's on our agenda right now.
Right, so.
I think the concern seems to be that somehow or other, the situation with the 4A and the land has to be resolved before we can address this.
No, that's why we didn't put it on our agenda. I mean, we didn't hire M&S to do this, so it's your point it would be your point to go ahead and authorize them to continue.
But how can we legally get them, I mean, can we legally get them to continue without having an agreement?
I think we need an agreement, don't you, Chris? I mean, Tom, I
Are we
mean,
talking about just approving this plan as?
this plan you can move on tonight.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
This plan you can move tonight. It's moving on the actual project needs to have an
So you
agreement.
could you make a motion to approve the plan with lawyers and get together?
Because we can get together on the actual steps necessary to implement any phases, but the approving of the
Approving the plan, you
draft
can move
master
to
parks
approve
plan.
the Parks Master Plan. And if you have a quorum, you don't have an action item, you can do it next week.
Right.
But if you have a, you can do the same thing tonight.
Exactly.
But everything else should probably halt in terms of, until an agreement has come up, because we can't move until there's an agreement. We can't put,
We can't break ground, we can't.
Yeah.
we can't move ground or do
We can't
anything
put-
until you
the field-
let us, right?
We
And
get this
it's
out
in
of the way
in a
and get
formal
back.
agreement.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's move on with the FADC and Thursday we'll move on with the council.
Still need to tie up, what suggested Corey says,
Would somebody like to make a motion?
I will move that we accept, or, let me see, I move that we accept the Parks Master Plan as presented and completed by M&S and Luck Design.
Maybe call it the preliminary parks plan.
Dated,
The dated,
dated today.
Okay, dated, May 9, 2016.
Or should it be proposed?
And again, we're just approving a plan. Right. What comes next, and we need to get some agreement going here, but this is just simply approving that plan.
I'll second it.
Have a motion by Fred, second by Ben. All those in favor? Motion passes. We have a plan.
Now we need to work on what to do. But I agree with Clarice, I think we need to walk out of here with at least some tentative agreement as to what we need to do.
I think they're gonna meet next week.
We have our meeting next
And
week.
then they'll get back with these two, them.
And hopefully by then our attorneys can get together. and
This helps with clarification for at least the first meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we have our direction with what we're going to do, and you can bring it back to it.
Okay. Liz, you all have anything else to add? Is everybody clear with what we've got done so far? Any questions? No misconstrued numbers? No semicolons? No motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion to adjourn, second by Fred. All in favor? Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for being here.